You know, most often when people think about gender in politics, they think about women in politics, but my argument is that gender is always central. My name is Jackson Katz, and I'm the author of Leading Men, Presidential Campaigns and the Politics of Manhood. What I'm arguing in the book is that presidential campaigns are a referendum on the state of national masculinity in the U.S., and all the gender and sexual orientation and race and class issues that have been, roiling the country for the past several decades get played out in the presidential campaign between two versions of masculinity. There's a certain sense of self-identification of Americans with a certain kind of manhood. It's a legacy from the Cold War, but even before that, the manhood of the country is embodied in the president, because the president is the kind of the king figure. He's the symbolic leader of the country. He's the head of the first family. He lives in the White House. He travels on Air Force One. I talk about the 1988 election of George H.W. Bush, where he defeated Michael Dukakis. He was ahead by 17 points in the summer of 1988, but he ended up winning 40 states. And one of the things that George H.W. Bush's campaign did was they effectively impugned Michael Dukakis' patriotism and his manhood and his capacity to be commander-in-chief.
Well, when it comes to ridicule, George, you win a gold medal. I think we can agree on that.
Rhetoric from that campaign, it was just constant ridicule of Michael Dukakis as somebody who was not capable of leading the military. And when Michael Dukakis, in response to some of that criticism, put on a helmet and rode in a tank to prove that he was somehow comfortable with military regalia, he actually made a kind of a fool of himself. He looked really silly in this photo op.
And may God bless the United States of America. And God bless these United States.
Mitt Romney and Barack Obama represent very different types of masculinity. Mitt Romney performs a very retro white masculinity that harkens back to some of Ronald Reagan's performances. And of course, Mitt Romney has studied Ronald Reagan, as have many on the right. And one of Reagan's great strengths was his ability to sort of mobilize this romantic yearning for a mythological or a romanticized past, a 1950s era kind of white suburban environment and home life where the father was the breadwinner and the mother took care of the kid. And Barack Obama does represent a much more modern, kind of metrosexual, if you will, kind of manhood. It's more expansive and inclusive. Barack Obama, interestingly, in 2008, the first African-American candidate, did the best among white male voters of any Democrat since Jimmy Carter, and a part of the reason why he was elected was because he did better than John Kerry or Al Gore in getting white male votes. The definitions of manhood are shifting. They always are. This is a time-specific analysis because at a certain point, the white male vote will not be as significant as it still is, but it's still over a third of the vote in the country. Symbolically, how can a woman navigate this terrain when it's been so clearly identified as a masculine terrain between various definitions of manhood?
Although we weren't able to shatter that hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it's got about 18 million cracks in it.
Because a lot of women look at this stuff and they think, oh my God, we're voting on the basis of these kinds of concerns. And meanwhile, issues like healthcare and education get kind of pushed aside in the face of the symbolic discussion and the posturing that goes on. We'll see how this plays out in subsequent election cycles.